Okay, welcome to this short introduction to Fractal Circles. This is a very simple system. It's very efficient, and the main use of this system is to rapidly be able to organize small groups to work independently to create instant actions. But it also has this feature that the groups can be linked together to create what I call a fractal. So the basic element is this cell or this circle, and each circle is a circle of about 6 people. And this is a very important thing to create a small circle like this. It's very efficient. There's much research that has shown that to work together in a small team in between 5 and 7 people is a maximum efficiency. You will work very rapidly together and you will have a good base to share knowledge. If you have a very small group, you will have a problem that there might not be enough information. If you're, for example, 2 or 3 people, you don't have all the basic knowledge that you need. But as you have more people in your circle, you will have more knowledge. But for every person that you add to a circle, to a group, it will be more difficult to communicate because the complexity always rises. So that's, for example, if you have a group of 20 people, it will be very difficult to have an efficient meeting because it takes a long time to hear everyone. So you might have seen this from other projects. As soon as it grows a little bit and you have 20-30 people, it becomes quite impossible to direct the group, and there will be a lot of difficult situation, conflicts, and so forth. So that's why it doesn't really work to cooperate in a very large group. There are ways to come around this problem, and one of these ways is to for example, have a talking stick so everybody has the possibility to speak to the point without getting interrupted. But even this method doesn't really work in a large group because it takes just too long time. And if you have to listen to everyone, the meeting will be so inefficient that people will kind of drop out, and usually there is no substance from the meeting. It just takes too much effort. So research and trial and error has shown that a group of 5 to 7 is really optimal, is the best size. You can actually see this also if you have a large group of like 20 people, for example. Usually this happens automatically, that there is a natural hierarchy occurring. But this natural hierarchy, usually it occurs in this way that all people who are really strong, like dominant or alpha people who are used to handling crowds, they take over, they raise their voice and so forth, and you create naturally this tendency that there is a few people taking over a meeting. And at that point there is something special happening, that most people are just going into following mood. It's like they're just following one of these leaders. So that's very unfortunate if you have a large group, because many of the people who might have very good ideas will kind of drop out. They don't want to take space. They don't feel like it's an environment where they want to fight for being one of the people who actually speaks. So this is the background why it's so important to work in these small cells. And if you look at this, using it as a tool for organizing activism on the street, for example, it's very common there as well that there is one prominent leader, someone who has some kind of influence, maybe a lot of subscribers to their channel or so forth. They come into a position where they can address a large crowd and they can get the whole crowd to support some action. It could be to make a demonstration or to do any kind of action. But to have a system or an organization that is heavily dependent on people who are already like successful or have a network, it's well, it has some flaws, and one of that is obviously that it depends on the person who is in this central role to be a very, very good leader. And that might be the case sometimes, but even if it's like that, obviously it makes it more difficult for everyone to feel involved in the system. But it also creates another problem, and that's that this person that is in a central role becomes very vulnerable. This she or he will be attacked, could be physically harmed, could be also threatened, or in other ways maybe corrupted in some way. So to have this one person leading a big group, it doesn't really work. So we need to have another way of acting. And the first thing using this circle method is that you can really fast get a feeling of that you have an authority and a power base to actually do something straight away. You can, by joining together in a group of 6 people, you already form a small organization, and by just listening to each other and taking the time to hear the ideas, you can very fast come to a short plan. And when you have this plan, you can start act. And this is really good to encourage, because people are quite shy when it comes to actually acting, especially if we look at Sweden, where I'm working now. Many people are just followers. We're quite used to follow. So by going together, 6 people, finding a plan, you have a possibility to encourage the independent action. Because like today with the United Awakening and what we're mainly doing, the different activist cells that use this method, but also everyone, is to have a different kind of information campaign. And what I've been working with now is the different campaigns that focus on informing about the lockdowns and maybe why this lockdown situation is being used to further control and to change laws in many countries in Europe. I'm not going to go into any details about that. This meeting is only about just how we can organize. But basically, a small group can make a small flyer and then order it and start working together to get active. And basically, if everybody would have this, if everybody would like to act and make this kind of group, it would be much easier. We don't really need a coordinated action either if everybody takes their role and start doing what they feel is appropriate. But this is just the first step, like how to instantly get into a little group and act. The second thing is to actually be able to create a common plan. In the United Awakening homepage, you can see this slogan, this one people, one plan. And the idea behind that is that today, actually, as I'm traveling around the world, I've been traveling in Europe quite a lot, I can feel by my interaction with different people, especially in communities, I can feel that many people already has a very good understanding of the political situation, being different kind of corruption within democracy, banking, and so forth. This kind of knowledge is very available, but when you look on the internet, it doesn't look as organized as it actually is. In the internet, it looks like there's a lot of crazy conspiracy theories that talk about aliens and such. It looks very strange to me. It doesn't resemble the true experience of actually visiting these alternative communities. And I can also see, if you look at the mass media, it has a totally different view. Then it looks like it's far right-wing extremists pushing different agendas in these demonstrations. So my point is here that the truth to the fact is that there's a lot of people out there that already share a common understanding on what is happening and would easily be able to organize and go together, but they are limited by the fact that they do not know each other, and they do not even understand that there is a lot like-minded people out there, because we are getting a false narrative both through the mainstream media and through the internet and the alternative media. And this is actually how they're separating us, by making us feel like we are alone in this mission. They are controlling both the alternative media channels and the mainstream media. And this is what we need to overcome. So what my intention is here with this United Awakening is for everybody to connect and share their strategies for how to create a new earth or a new society. And basically, to do this, we need to connect all the circles. Obviously, the first thing you would do is in your circle to create your own plan, to talk with your friends in your circle and make this strategy. I call it a strategic overview. And this overview is basically to look at the problems that we face today and the causes for these problems. And then you look at your vision of the future, what you want to create, and step by step plan how to get there, starting with your own cell, how you in your group of 6 can actually come further. But to make this then actually a more massive movement, the cells need to cooperate. So what the magic with the fractals here is that 6 circles in a local community. Let's say you already have 6 circles in your town, for example. You will go together, the 6 circles, and create a cluster of circles. And in this cluster you will share your plan, your problem definition, and also your ideas for what you can do. And this sharing has a special, there's a special way of doing that. And basically every local circle chooses one representative. But this representative is not, doesn't have a mandate to work for a long time as representing the group. The representative, or the trustee, this is the term I'm using, is only entrusted to represent the circle in one single meeting. So let's say that we have a structure where every cell, every circle has one regular monthly meeting, and in this monthly meeting they make updates to their strategic overviews. They're like furthering their analysis and their plans. So also every month all of these circles go together in these fractals. So the next meeting will be that one trustee from each of the 6 circles in your town go together and they form a temporary circle. If there is only 6 circles in your city and you don't have other connection, then this would be the last circle. Important to see here that this circle will also only be 6 people. There's other systems out there working with small groups that changes when you come to the next level. There might be 30 representatives, but this is not the case. This is very important. You will remain in this small circle of 6 people. And so the 6 representatives will share all the different suggestions, the ideas that their local circle has been sharing, and together they will just make a summary. So you will summarize all the information from all the 6 different circles, and you will prioritize this. So the 6 trustees will make a list of the most important tasks that they think that they should do together. So if they manage to do this, then all these 6 circles can work together. You might have a simple plan to go out next Saturday and make some kind of manifestation in your local city, for example. So you can have that quite fast, but you will also have the other information about what the other people think are the problems and the analysis of the system. So it's a way of bringing information together to share real, true information through a natural system, and then taking the most interesting ideas and applying them, and everyone in all the circles has the possibility to join this. For me, it's also important to notice that this is what the center circle does here, is just to make suggestions for how to act. It's not like they're deciding anything. So each of the circles are totally sovereign, and they can choose to do their own action because they have their own plans. But if they like to, they can join the bigger plan where all the 6 circles work together. And the magic with this fractal is that it will just be able to continue like this and scale to any amount of people, keeping the same complexity. So if you have 36 people in one of these clusters, you can bring in 6 other clusters. So let's say there's 6 different towns with each 6 circles. Then there will be a third meeting every month. And the third meeting, you will have a representative from each town. And they will go together and they will do exactly the same. They will share their information. They will make a new summary of all the different aspects of their strategy, and they will make a new prioritized list. And then in this way you can synchronize all the cities, and this can just continue. And for every additional level of meetings, you will be able to add 6 times more people to the fractal. So this is very easy to see that this can cover a lot of people very fast, and the design makes it very optimal in the way that information can go very, very fast into the center circle and then out to all different nations, cities, and local cells. And every branch has the possibility to join in, every cell has the possibility to join in. So this is the basic structure of how that would be possible. So I would like to stop there and see if there's any questions. There's also possible to just ask a question in this or ask for some clarity. So I will just let anyone in who wants to ask a question. And make sure you're unmuted if you're doing a question.
I have a question, Michael.
Yes, thank you.
I am originally from Holland, but I'm living in Portugal right now, and I'm just curious. Are there other fractal cells operating in Portugal right now?
Yes, I started a first fractal organization in Aljasur, which is the town where I live in Portugal. And that fractal, it jumped also to the next city, which is Lagos, who created their own fractal, and also moved up to Lisbon. So there's 3 active fractals. But as I understand it, they do not operate fully using this system, because it takes a little bit of time, I can see. And I think even the Aljasur circle has been a bit disrupted as I left it, so it's I can see there's like a need for someone to come back and to help them to go to use this kind of system. It takes just a tiny bit of moderation, but it gives instant effects that are really good.
Okay.
I can explain just a little bit how I've been working in Portugal, because I don't. The fractal system has different kind of aspects that you can use. You can use it in some different ways. It's very modular in this way. How we're using it in Al Yasur, where we're doing activism, we had once a week meetings, and at this meeting, anyone who wants comes. So usually there was about 20 people coming to the town square, and then at this time we split the group into groups of about 6 people. So we didn't have pre-assigned circles that was working separate. So instead everybody comes to the same meeting and we just split. It could be basically randomly. We split into different circles and we have a topic for the meeting. And everybody was then in their little group discussing their topic, choosing a trustee, and then the trustees were having the central circle while everybody else is around listening and also being able to come with ideas and such. But the center circle will be like the main communication, and they will also moderate everybody else. And this proved to be very efficient in this sense. So that's a really interesting way to operate as well, because it can be easier to actually create a circle that is stable with 6 people who actually want to do something. It's a process, but that's really very powerful. It's very powerful to have this local circle with some people you trust, because it gives you power to act independently. And also in this political situation where right now it feels like it's really good to have a small core of people who actually has a common plan, like a bug out plan, or some kind of plan on how to handling problems. Let's say there is power shortage or food shortage or anything, could be by any reason. It's really good to have a small local group of people you trust. And as well, it has a very good it's very good for just meeting together and feeling that you can share your ideas with other people, especially when you're in this kind of subculture of activist or spiritual people or alternative in general. It's really helpful to have these more groups, so you have someone to speak to as well. It's really helpful in that sense.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that is very helpful. So this is being used in a lot of different ways. It's not only for activism, but it's also for, like you mentioned, spiritual groups, or people that may be into, say, permaculture and they want to do things together, growing food, or any combination thereof, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
probably also great for communities that may have already grown a bit and that may be struggling with how to govern themselves, and maybe could adopt a model like this to come to a better way of coming to decisions and getting things done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can comment on that because the reason why I created this system is for activist purposes, but the homepage fractalcircles.org, it's like then I put the method outside in a neutral space, and already there's a lot of organization. I have, for example, there was one company that was doing hemp products, and they were creating this system of different producers, and it was a network of companies working with this, and they wanted to use these fractal circles to organize their business. It's also people from this group is Seeds, this cryptocurrency, that want to are interested at least to use this for a way of making democracy within this cryptocurrency, for example. It's very good for online direct democracies because it becomes manageable, while normal direct democracy creates a situation where everybody needs to always know everything. So this kind of system takes away instantly, like 1 out of 6 are really only needed to create it. Most people will just need to be there a little bit. So it's really optimizing the way to involve everyone, but at the same time making most of the work, putting most of the work on the trustees. And the trustees also will be chosen because they have these qualities that are they feel, the circle feels that they can be represented by this person. So the normal people who take over this role as leaders are usually a different kind. The normal leader are taking space, while a trustee will be given space. And that I can see from my own experience that someone you give space to is very often someone who doesn't want to take space themselves, and the group instead decides that they want to bring this forth. So it's interesting. Other groups that I've seen, it's like a network of women working with women's circles. They're already working in these small circles, and I was connected to a woman who leads this kind of network, and she wanted to adopt it as well as a way for them to communicate in between their circles. And yeah, I'm sure there's many other organizations, and I would say that the fractal system just optimizes communication, rapid creation of networks, and it's in this dynamic shape where it's just so easy, because there are other systems also, like I don't know all the names, but sociocracy and Hollands they work with. There's a few different methods, but usually it's complicated. Like in every level there is new rules, there's new ways, there's new protocols, while this one is just simple. It's just the same thing all the time, and you don't have pre-designed roles or things. It's only the trustee, that's the only role, and then you have to invent all the other roles yourself. So it makes it super simple to understand and get started with, and then you can build any kind of complexity out of that if you like to, but it's like optional. So it makes it very good to just get right out there, find some people and start. You don't need anything else.
Yeah, great.
Thank you. So
Thanks.
other questions? You're
Yes,
welcome. Yes.
Michael, I'm Carla. I'm living in Stockholm right now, but I come from Portugal, and I have a question. After each circle goes to the higher circle, they have to come back and give feedback, or how does that work?
Yes, well, there's always possible to do it in different ways, but as one way of doing it is just to have one meeting a month. So obviously the next meeting you will debrief what happened in the center circle. But you can have different ways. Sometimes you want to work every week, and obviously as soon as you come to back to your local circle, you will have a debriefing. That will be the obvious thing. Everybody would like to know what happened and so forth. When I was working in Portugal, when we didn't have the local circles, then instead in every meeting every week, the first thing that happened is that the person who was the moderator for the last meeting, and the moderator was just someone who helped to everybody to know what to do. There was always one moderator, like that we chose in the beginning of the meeting. In the end of the meeting, well, no, rather in the start of the next meeting, the moderator of the previous meeting made like a 5 minute briefing what happened the last meeting, for example, so everybody who was new to the meeting could get all the facts. and then you choose a new moderator for the next meeting.
Okay. So the thing is that if there are a lot of circles, when you get to know what happened in the highest one, it takes a bit longer, no? Not because if each person, just one person from each circle goes to the next meeting, and then from that circle, just one goes to the other, and when the highest circles will meet every, I don't know if every 6 months or something. I don't know how.
No, it doesn't work like that, because it's you don't have just one meeting per month. If you actually, let's say you have a local meeting the first day of the month, and then you have a second meeting for all the trustees, then you will have that, let's say, on the 6th day of the month. So it will be the next week, and then the third meeting will be just a week later. So you will be able to, or you can do it every one day after each other. It doesn't need to take so long time at all. So if you have 7 layers, you already have like more than 50,000 people that can get together. So then you can actually do that in 1 week. If you have one meeting per day, you will be able to come all the way to the top and have the center circle. And one way of doing this is to also to make this publicly available. I'm developing a software, or two different softwares using this technique, and basically in the end of each meeting you make all the propositions that been made, you make a protocol for the meeting, and that protocol will be available for everyone in the that's underneath this, or everybody in the world. Basically you could see it, but all the circles uh, underneath the meeting will get this knowledge. So all the time you will get the briefing from every meeting. So you don't really need even to wait for the representative to say it. You can actually see it online if you're working online. But a good thing about this system is that it's also available to work without going online at all. In that case, obviously you need to always wait, because for example, if you only go from downwards upwards, it will take long time. So then you can have an inverted way, that you go the same way back. So first you go from the lower levels up to the center circle, and then you go back all the way down again. And in this way you can do that. I think it's good to do a full set of going in and out in 1 month, and it shouldn't take more than 1 month. And you could do one world meeting for each. If you're gonna do this for the whole world, basically you need maybe 10 different meetings. So you have to do meetings every other day or so, and you will still be able to connect the whole world in less than a month, including the debriefing then. Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome.